Hello guys and welcome back. So let's start setting up our fruit, I think. Okay. So to do that, I'm gonna right click here and then create a new C++ class. Oh, here. Doesn't matter where, actually. It's gonna put them in here anyways because it's actually two separated world, right? This time it's gonna be of the type actor. I'm gonna go for next. And it's gonna be called overlapable. Okay, overlapable. Now I'm not naming it fruit because I know that I have three things that is overlappable with the snake head, right? That's gonna be the fruit, the tail, and the walls, right? So for the fruit, when we overlap, we'll need to increment the score, right, and other things. For the tail and the wall, they'll do game over, right? But nonetheless, they all have this one functionality, which is they will be able to overlap with the head and do something differently. But nonetheless, they're all overlapping. And so that way I can generate all those overlapping things into a parent class. And this is the parent class I'm doing here now, called overlapable. Okay, you can see similar structure as our snake head, right? So let me go ahead and start setting up a few components when we need. So I need, let me do, oops, I cannot really change it somehow. For some reason, let me, don't save that. Let's open that again, overlapable. And let me hit enter and hash include components sin component.h and then include components static mesh component. That's the two components I need. This is the same thing, right? We need to have a root and we need to have a mesh. Okay, so let me do that here. Okay, now ue property really don't need to be exposed if I never plan on changing those things in the editor. I don't have to do like a visible anywhere kind of thing. I just need to have ue property to tell Unreal Engine this is the Unreal Engine property. Especially for those components, I kind of wanted to have that. Okay, use sin component pointer root comp, right, and then use property again. Use static mesh component mesh. Okay, that's the two things. And then in the constructor, let me open that. In the constructor here, let me set up those two things, right? Root comp will be create the default sub object, right? And then we can do root use sin component and then call it root comp. Oh. And then we can do the same thing for the mesh. So mesh will be equals to create default sub object, right? And then use static mesh component, and then we can call this guy mesh. Now again, we're going to set up our root component as our root comp. So set root component will be our root component, right? And then our mesh will be simply attached to that. So set up attachment, and that can be root comp. Okay, now for the mesh, we also want it to be set collision response, set collision enabled to be collision enabled, and column we're gonna do also query only. We're gonna also do it mesh set collision response to all channels to, let's ignore all channels first, and then set collision response to channel, and we're gonna set that to pawn channel, right? Our player pawn channel to be ECR overlap. That way it's only gonna overlap with the pawn, basically. That's gonna save performance, right? Right, it's only gonna overlap with any pawn type. And then I think that's it. I'm also gonna set it. No, that should be something for something in the future, maybe. For now, I think that's the generic things, right? Those things are needed for all the things that's going to be overlapping. Okay, set collision enable, response to all channels, response to channel. All right, now to really hook up the event, we can go create or override a function underneath. Virtual void notify actor begin overlap. Okay, a actor pointer, other actor, override. Because there's a function called notify actor begin overlap in the actor class. If you go pick definition or go to definition here, and that's when Visual Studio is getting really slow. So with Visual Assist, you can just select that and press Alt G. That will bring you to there right away. And then I can search for that. You can see now this is the function we're overriding, right? You can see what it does, right? It's very well commented. Even when this actor overlaps another actor, right? I want this to be implemented myself. Okay, notify actor begin overlap. And because it's virtual, it's marked as virtual, that means a child class can override it to redefine what this function does. Redefining or replacing. So whenever there's a child actor that does something overlapping with others, instead of calling this function, it's going to call the overriding function here in our overlapable. So this function will be called. So I'm going to go create the implementation. When you're doing that in CPP, you don't have to type in override or virtual, just the function itself. So a overlappable column that, and then we can already start typing what's happening. Okay. We also mark it as virtual here. We could actually avoid that if we don't want it to, create a child class based on this. But I do want to create child class for my fruit, for the tail and the wall. So this has to be virtual. So the child. Oh, actually, I don't have to do it here. Let me delete that. Because this is the one I want to override, but I want to have another function for the child class to override. Let's do that actually. So here I'm gonna say a snake head pointer overlapped actor as snake head be equals to cast a snake head other actor. Now we're using snake head, so we have to include that. Snake head. Okay. So what this does is basically the other actor could be anything, right? Any actor. Now a snake head is one type of actor, right? So just to be able to use it as a snake head, because it could be the snake head, it could be something else, we have to cast it by doing this casting with the type we want it to be cast to, the variable we want to cast other actor from the type actor pointer to the type a snake head pointer. Okay, right? Because this function is more generic, right? It's not only for a snake head, it's going to be for any actor overlapping with us. So the pass information is going to be of the type actor. But we know that in our case, it has to be the snake head. So we try to cast it first. But it is, again, common practice that we need to check just in case. We can check if this thing exists or the casting is successful, right? We do that first, right? Because this could be fail. If there's another actor that is not a snake head, right, this will still be called and that actor will be passed in, but it's not a snake head, right? So this casting would fail, which will make this one equals to something we call a null pointer. Now, if it's a null pointer, then this if statement will evaluate to false, which will skip what's in here. Okay, that's something important here, right? And then we're going to create another function to call I'm gonna go here and create another function, virtual void overlapped with snake head. Okay, and this one will take one argument, which is I'm gonna say class a snake head pointer snake head. Okay, now why do I type in this class before? I'm not creating a new class. I'm basically saying this thing exists, right? Find it somewhere because I'm already including in the CPP, right? If you don't have the class, you also have to include snakehead in here, but I want to avoid that. And I can avoid that by doing a snakehead, adding a class in front, right? I don't know why it's complaining about that virtual, but it should not be a problem. Okay, and then I'm gonna go copy these things, and in the CPP file I'm gonna create that. So void a overlapable column that, right? And then here, that's something child class will have to override. Needs to override it. Okay. So I will not do anything here, but all I need to do is just calling it here, overlap with snakehead and overlapped actor as snakehead. So whenever an actor that's overlapping with this overlappable, this will be triggered, but of course it has to be of the type pong, right? Because we're ignoring anything else. Our snakehead is one of the pongs, right? So no matter whatever pong that's overlapping with this overlappable actor, this will be called, and that overlapping actor will be passed in as an argument. Now here we're trying to convert that actor, that pong that's overlapping with this actor, into a snakehead. If we do succeed, that means we're overlapping with the snakehead, right? And then we call this function called overlapped with snakehead, which is empty for now, and that's for the child classes to override. Okay, so this is going to be a base class. Sometimes we call this an abstract class. It doesn't do anything other than the basic functionalities, right? Now ideally in just C++ programming, you want to make it equals 0, meaning that this is purely abstract, right? Meaning that this one cannot be instantiated. It has to be a child class from this that actually override this function, but Unreal Engine does not allow you to do that. You can do abstract here, but we have base class actor already that is not abstract, so this will not work, right? So we'll have to do something here, but it's actually not doing something at all. Anyway, so if that doesn't make sense, don't worry, it's not going to affect how everything works here, right? You just have to have this thing in here. Okay. All right, that's one class. I'm going to go back here and compile. Again, this is going to be the base class, right? Let's just make sure that this is compilable, right? Overlappable. And then we're going to go from here, maybe in the next video, right? We'll actually derive a fruit, right? Derive a fruit, and then we probably need to recompile the whole thing because I'm doing constructor stuff, right? But let's see. Now we have overlappable, drag one in here. Yeah, we don't see anything because we're really not making it visible, but it should be in there. Right, let me close Visual Studio, sorry, closing the editor here. Save that, of course. And then we're gonna rebuild it. Start without debugging to rebuild everything. Okay. All right, yeah, that's it for this video. Moving on to the next, we're gonna create the fruit based on overlappable. Okay, see you next time.